So I have to leave for work in about 40 minutes, and as it turns out, I left my camera on all night. So I'm not convinced it's going to survive this recording. So is this video going to come out? Who knows? We'll say a prayer. If you're seeing it, then I guess it worked out. Good afternoon, pals. How are we doing? It is the end of 2023. That's a bit crazy. We've had a very successful reading year. However, I did do quite a lot of saying I was going to read a book and then not doing it. Which, there are worse crimes, but I wanna fix that for 2024. So I thought the best way to do that is to make a 2024 TBR, and these are the books that I want to get through in 2024. It's 24 books, so that's 2 a month, which means hypothetically I just have to read 2 of these books per month, and then I will read my entire 2024 TBR. Hypothetically being the key word. I'm going to crack on with it. This is my official 2024 TBR. This is to keep me accountable. We need to read these books. And maybe I'll react to this in a year and see if I actually did it. Alright, book number 1. This is A Bright Ray of Darkness by Ethan Hawke. First up, coolest title ever. Love this title. Ethan Hawke is obviously an actor. He wrote a book. This book, I believe, is about an actor who cheats on his wife and is caught in the media, everyone knows, and then he starts a Broadway debut. So it's kind of, I think, about him dealing with all of the hate online and trying to maybe rekindle his marriage. I'm not too sure, but with a title and a cover this cool, I need to read this. I have to read this, and I have very high expectations for this one. I'm really excited. It's a pretty short book, so it's only 237 pages. So there is no reason why we shouldn't be able to get to this in 2024. Immediately no. Next up, we have the book that I once described as a classic because I was convinced it was written centuries ago. No, it was written in 2020. Where on earth I got that from, I have no idea. I was convinced this was a book from the 1900s. It was written 3 years ago. I don't know where I got that from. Anyway, this is The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. From what I know about this book, it is about a girl, I think, who wants to take her own life, and then she's transported to a place called the Midnight Library, which I think is a sort of purgatory, and basically she gets to see lots of different versions of what her life could have been or could be. I think so. I think it's a sort of reflective book that maybe philosophical, and it looks at lots of different versions of her life. I'm not too sure, but I've heard very good things from Matt Haig. I've also got another book by him, which for the life of me can't remember what it's called, but I picked it up in a thrift store the other day. And I'm just excited to get to this, and I think this will be a good one for me to read in 2024. I'm not going to say that every time, I swear. I then have the book that I'm probably dreading most on this list, which I created myself, so it's a completely self-inflicted fear, but this is Carrie by Stephen King. Before I say why I don't want to read this, I would just like to preface this by saying that I genuinely, I'm not exaggerating, I'm not trying to be funny, I genuinely find Finding Nemo scary. Not sure how I'm going to cope with Carrie. For anybody who doesn't know, I assume we all do, but Carrie is a horror book. Quite a prolific horror book. And I am scared of absolutely everything. But I feel like at some point in my life I just need to read this and get over myself, because I feel like it's a classic and I just need to do it. So this is the year. This says, Carrie White has a gift, the gift of telekinesis. To be invited to prom night by Tommy Ross is a dream come true for Carrie, the first step towards social acceptance by her high school colleagues. But events will take a deadly turn on that horrifying and endless night as she is forced to exercise a terrible gift on the town that mocks and loathes her. It's giving female revenge story though, so that could be very fun. I then have The Virgin Suicides, which I am so excited to read, and honestly the fact that I haven't read this yet is offensive. This is about the 5 Lisbon sisters who I believe die, and then it's the men left behind who love them who are trying to figure out what happened. And this is just a book that has just always been on my peripheral, and I've just always wanted to get to it. And I, for the life of me, don't know why I've picked it up. So That's why it's on this list. No more excuses, we are reading this. I then have The Family Remains by Lisa Jewell. If you haven't seen last week's video, I wrapped up my 5-star reads, and The Family Upstairs, which is the first one in this series, was on that list, and I adored that book. And this is a duology, and this is the second and final book. And I immediately bought this having finished The Family Upstairs. I went out, I got it, I had it in my possession because I was like, I need to have this now. And that was months ago. And I haven't read it, and I don't know why. But I want to read this sooner rather than later because I feel like it's a duology and I want to like continue the story, and I also don't want to forget what's going on because I already read The Family Upstairs quite a few months ago. I'm thinking hopefully we can get to this early 2024. Like we're talking January, February time would be nice. I think this has now been included in almost every TBR video that I've ever done. And I'm going to say it now. I am reading this in 2024. I have every intention to read it in January. If for some reason not January, it will be February. Like I am reading this and I'm filming it, and we will have a vlog and we will discuss A Court of Thorns and Roses because I've put this off for so long. I was talking to a really lovely girl in the comments the other day, and she was telling me that she thinks this is actually quite an accessible fantasy because I've been putting it off because I feel like I won't understand it. So she has given me every faith. So I'm doing it, okay? I am doing it. If for whatever reason I haven't read this by the end of 2024, you can all unsubscribe. Please don't unsubscribe. But you know what I mean. Like this is getting read. That's all I'm saying on the matter, because it's getting read. I then have a gorgeous copy of Peter Pan. I actually have had this for years and I kind of almost forgot I had it. I believe this is the original tale. This is from Penguin. I think one of their like classics. I don't know, it's like a gorgeous little paperback. It's very thin, it's only 150 pages. I've always loved the Peter Pan story, but I don't think I've ever actually read the original. So this is just one I want to get to. I then have the book that I have seen the film and the play for, and both have made me cry. So I thought, let's make it a trifecta and cry at the book as well. This is A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, and this story breaks my heart every time. There's a particular like line, or I guess scene or moment, I guess, in this story that just gets me every time. And I obviously won't spoil it, but it's nearish the end. Something the boy says, a realisation, if you will. I just think the book will take it to an even deeper level because I'm so excited to read that scene because I think it will break my heart, but I also think it will just... I need to know how it was written. Next up we have Maidens by Alex Michaelides. I found this thrifting the other day, like literally 6 months ago. Like I've had this for so long. I consider everything the other day unless I was actually a child. And even sometimes then. This, I believe, is dark academia. It's set at Cambridge University inside a society, and I think there's a murder. And it's kind of giving Ninth House vibes, but I'm assuming without the fantasy element. And I enjoyed Ninth House. And I have no idea if I've made a very odd connection and these are actually nothing alike, but that just randomly came to me when I was reading that. But I just think they sound super fun, and so included. Circe, I am putting this off. This is Greek mythology retelling, I believe, and again, I'm just putting it off because I am intimidated. But this cover is stunning, and I've heard incredible things about this, and it needs reading. One of those ones a bit like A Court of Thorns and Roses where I read the blurb and I just don't understand it, and that makes me really nervous to read the actual book. But the blurb genuinely does sound incredible, so I think I just need to get over myself and get to this, because I also want to read The Song of Achilles by the same author, Madeline Miller. I think I just need to do it, because I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as intimidating as I think it is, because so many people love this book. So we're doing it this year. I then have the prettiest book I own, which is Sea of Tranquility. I have a special edition with the sprayed edges. I went through a phase of saying almost every day, I was like, that's the book I'm picking up today, and I kept not doing it. I don't know why. And I just feel a weird connection to this book. I don't even know why. I barely know what it's about. I know it's a sci-fi, and that's kind of all I've gleaned. I've read the blurb of this ridiculous amount of times. I just feel like I'm going to enjoy it. I can't even tell you why. This is book number 12, so we are halfway through. So this is If He Had Been With Me by Laura Nolan. This is Autumn and Finn's story, I've heard a lot about them, and I think this is meant to be just a very, very sad romance. And I love sad books, and I love romance books. So I feel like this will be a good one. Next we have Caraval by Stephanie Garber. Again, just an author I hear about continuously, and I found Caraval thrifting and I just need to get to it. I also really want to read the, what are they called, like a cursed heart that is broken. No, a curse of broken hearts. A broken... Do you know what I mean? I'll put it there. I can't remember what it's called. But I want to read that. I think it's a duology or a trilogy maybe. But I think you're meant to read this first. Not that I even own those other ones, but I think I need to read this first, so I'm going to read this first. We then have probably my other favourite title on this TBR, which is On Earth We Are Briefly Beautiful. And I've heard the writing in this is just poetic and gorgeous and unlike anything else, and that sounds great. And I'm already brought in by the title and the cover, and yeah, you shouldn't judge a book by a cover, but do you know what? I do, and I love this cover, and so I will love this book. That's how it works. Red, white and royal blue, because I want to watch the TV show. And I've been putting off watching the TV show because you have to read the book first, because that's the rules, but I haven't got around to reading the book yet. So I haven't watched the TV show yet. So we need to read the book first, so I can watch the TV show. And also, I think the book's going to be great because I've heard great things. We then have a book that I just got in my possession, if you will. If anyone has not seen yet, I have been doing a series on my shorts, which is opening a book advent calendar. And this is a book that I got recently, probably around day 16, 17, around that mark. This is How You Lose the Time War, which is such a fun title. Firstly, I love a long title. I am a sucker for a long title, but I just think this is epic. This is How You Lose the Time War. What a great title. This sounds like some sort of war romance, possibly, but I think it might be dystopian or sci-fi. I honestly don't really know very much about this. Oh, my camera's about to die, I need to hurry up. I honestly don't know very much about this, but I have heard brilliant things and I'm just excited to get to it. This is I Fell in Love with Hope. I found this author on, I think, Instagram Reels like years ago, and mostly it was just loads of videos of people crying, and I was like, I want to cry at this book too, so I bought this. This is about a girl who falls in love with a boy who's dying in hospital, I think, and it's meant to be heartbreaking, and again, beautiful title, beautiful cover, and I'm a sucker for a book that makes you cry. I've said this before, but almost every book that makes me cry, I rate 5 stars. Make of that information what you will. Next up we have Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield. I am so ridiculously excited to read this. This is about a woman who is on a deep sea mission in a submarine that then goes missing, I think for about 6 months, and something happens and we don't know what, and then that woman then returns to her wife, and her wife can tell that something's changed but she doesn't know what, and she's basically trying to figure that out and I think save their relationship at the same time. But I just think that sounds awesome. And again, I love the cover and I love the title. I'm going to stop saying that now, actually. Happy Place by Emily Henry. I had to include this just because I feel like this was such an anticipated 2023 read, but I hadn't read any Emily Henry up until this year, and I've now read Book Lovers and Beach Read, both of which I really enjoyed. And I think this is meant to be quite different from those two, but I enjoy Emily Henry's writing style, particularly her dialogue. I always find really fun. So I just think this will be a fun, but also maybe sad one. I've heard people cry at this as well. I just think this will be a fun one to get to. And because everyone enjoyed it in 2023, I'm getting FOMO, so I want to know what all the hype's about. Then we have The First to Die at the End by Adam Silvera. This is the prequel, or the sequel, I'm not actually sure, to They Both Die at the End, which I read quite recently, like probably a month ago, and really, really enjoyed. It's about a world where they have a thing called Deathcast, and Deathcast will call you in the morning to tell you if you're going to die that day. And the last book followed a pair of boys as they found out that they were going to die and kind of bringing them together. And I believe this does the same but with 2 different people, so it's kind of like the same concept but different people and different characters, which I think will be really fun because it'll be so exciting to take the concept which I already love and continue it and see where it goes next. I then couldn't make this TBR video without including a Taylor Jenkins Reid book because, again, I read my first Taylor Jenkins Reid reads this year. I read The Seven Husbands and One True Loves, And I just think, A, the woman has range. She can write about lots of different things, including this, which is about tennis. And also, I just love her writing style. I think it's so engaging. And so I could have included so many on this. I ended up picking this one, but I've also got Daisy Jones. I think I've got a couple others. There are many, many that I really want to get to, but this was the closest, and I am genuinely very excited to read this. I know nothing about tennis. I can't play any sports, but I don't think it's going to matter. I think I would honestly read anything this woman had written. I then have a copy of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. My best friend is always telling me to read this. Along with everyone on BookTube, I've heard great things. It's young adult mystery, which isn't something I've read a lot of, but I feel like this is so widely loved that it's another one that I just have to get to and I need to know my opinion on. And I'm excited for it. And I believe there is also now a TV show coming out, or has just come out. So again, if I want to watch that, I have to read the book first. Them the rules. I've really sped up because I'm scared my camera's going to die. We have 2 books left. I then have The Book Thief, which I recently said on a YouTube short is the highest rated book on BookTube. I then looked it up after that and it is absolutely not. Not even in the top 10. So where I got that information from, I don't know. I don't know if that list maybe changes quite regularly. I'm assuming it probably does, which is maybe where I got that information from. It's still incredibly highly rated. This is set in 1939 Nazi Germany. The country is holding its breath. Death has never been busier. And this follows a 9-year-old girl and her parents have been taken away to a concentration camp. So this is obviously going to be a very heavy, sad read I'm expecting, but I think probably a very important one. I actually don't know too much about it other than that, but it's a book that I've been meaning to read for years. I found it in a thrift store the other day and I thought, well, we're going to have to get that. So yeah, definitely need to get to this in 2024. And last, but most certainly not least, we have The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This is another book that I was very lucky to get in my advent calendar on my shorts. I think this was the first one I opened actually, so off to a strong start. I think this is also young adult kind of mystery. It's about a girl called Avery, which just as a side note is one of my favourite names on the planet. Avery inherits a lot of money from a stranger and as part of that she has to do some tasks. I think it's meant to be like adventure, fun, mystery vibes. And I know it's a trilogy and then there's another book that's just come out called The Brothers Hawthorne. So if I enjoyed this, we're in for a fun series, which I just think will be good times to go into 2024 with. This is my 2024 TBR. I am going to be reading every single one of these books in 2024. Maybe. No, I am. I'm going to read almost all of these. No, I'm going to read them. I am going to read them. I am very, very excited to continue my reading journey in 2024. We've got some excellent books. There will obviously be lots of other books read as well, but I very much hope and have every intention that these 24 will be amongst them. And we only have to do 2 a month, and that is doable. Some of these books are really short as well, so I have no excuses. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you've stuck out this long, you should probably subscribe. It just makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, cool, thanks. You're all the best. I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful, magnificent rest of your day. Thank you very much.